Well, good afternoon, or actually, it's morning. So, good morning. It is March, 10th? I just look at time as it's flying, and I just want to welcome you here to another Miami-Dade Chamber event. And it is Words and Women, or Women and Words. It is Women's History Month, and we do have this series of authors who we are meeting with and interviewing, and it's just an exciting time as we all pivot through the pandemic. And I know a lot of you probably have wanted to write a book or you started writing books. So here is a great time when you are wondering what to do. A lot of us are working from home and we have time off, or not necessarily time off, but we have time that we can dedicate to some of those things that we've been wanting to do. And I know, again, a lot of us have a desire to write. So I've had the pleasure of this month being Women's History Month to bring in four women authors. And today I have Miss TK Pratt Owens, who will be talking about her book, Plan the Life You Want. So without further ado, TK,
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
how are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. How are
I,
you?
I am great. I'm so excited about what you're doing. Um, but before we get into the book, and as I'm here trying to connect to Facebook Live, multitasking, that's one thing with this new era of social distancing and meeting online. We have many ways to share and connect with people. So I am just connecting people to my Facebook as we're beginning.
Absolutely. And Eric, can you still hear me
I,
right now?
I hear you very well. So thank
Perfect.
you.
Perfect.
So, TK, tell folks a little bit about you before we get into this book.
Absolutely. Let's see. How can I talk about myself? I'm born and raised right here in Miami. Very, very proud of where I grew up. I'm originally from down south. There's an area called West Perrine, and that's where I grew up as a child and until I got into my adulthood. But born and raised here in Miami. Um, Pretty much a lot of people know me as a dancer. That probably will be the first skill set that will come up because I truly, that was my passion and still is. It's just like riding a bike. I don't think you ever forget. But I was pretty much known as a professional dancer at the tender age of 18, actually 17. I became a Miami Heat dancer. And so I guess that was probably a big thing, not to me, a
Oh,
big
wow.
thing too.
I got hold up. I got to at 18, 17. You were a heat dancer?
Well, I auditioned at 17, and the rules were you had to be 18 by the time the season started. So,
Oh,
of
wow.
course, my birthday's in November. It was the beginning of the season. And so,
Wait a minute.
yes, right
Wait
out
a
of
minute.
high school,
Wait a minute. I think I knew your birthday was in November because of social media. What day is your birthday?
November 2nd, because we're both Scorpios.
That's right, right. So we're like a few days off. I'm the fifth, and you're the second. Right.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
And we have some other things in common also.
Absolutely. Just to let the Facebook world know, we even believe that we are related. We're both from the Bahamas. My family is the Pratt, Deans, and the Knowles. And so my last name happens to be Pratt and yours is Knowles. So we
Right.
have to go down the family tree.
But the fact that my last name is Knowles, my great grandmother, well, my grandmother was a Pratt before she became a Knowles.
So we know it. It's there somewhere.
So yeah, so we really have to sit down and go through that family tree and see how it's all connected.
Connected.
But going back to this whole thing of dancing, oh
Uh-oh.
wow, that no, that's quite amazing when you think about it because obviously I worked in sports with the Dolphins for
Yes.
15 years, so I truly understand it, and even more so, I would say that my daughter, my baby girl, who's in college now, her mother was a Heat, excuse me, not a Heat, but a Miami Dolphin cheerleader. So
Wow.
I truly understand the rigor that you had to go through, and becoming a dancer at 18, 17, and
Yeah.
the whole thing of being 18, and then, but also, so go ahead. I'm gonna get out of the way. Finish
Yeah,
telling.
yeah. So I guess that was something big to me, and as an individual goal that I actually became a heat dancer. I've been with that family. Pretty much, I danced for them for about 5 years. Left, started a family, came back, and then became their assistant director as the choreographer for the heat dancers. And then I became the dance director of the Heat Junior Jam. At that time, they had a kids dance team. And so that is truly my family. It's always going to be Heat Nation for me forever. So,
Right.
and I'm a part of their alumni whenever we get together throughout the years. I'm a part of the alumni team as well. But just growing up in the dance industry, after I left the Heat, I opened up my own dance studio called Just Kidding Around. And that also put me on a different platform and also known as a professional dancer as well. Just like you, Eric, been in and out of modeling and acting. And so I've done some commercials. It's just what I love to do. My dad, God bless his soul, he was like a Joe Jackson. He took me everywhere. Different auditions, and I just truly love entertaining people. So I just really just fell right into that entertainment world, and that's what I love to do, to perform, to do productions. But once you get older, you kind of retire. So my knees are not the same. Thank God I have a daughter that I can pass that baton down to, and she is an amazing dancer. She just graduated from Bethune-Cookman University, and she was the captain of their 14K dance team. And
Oh,
so
wow.
the legacy continues, and I'm just so proud that I get to look at her. But I'm really, Eric, I'll be honest with you, I'm at a position that I still love it. It's still a passion of mine, but I want to switch roles. Instead of being in front of the camera, I now want to be in the background as a director and a producer. And so those are some of the things that I'm working on.
Well, listening to you, and obviously listening to the passion that you have, and you talked about, you were a heat dancer, but you were also a cheerleader for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
Which
how,
is
how
true.
many years did you do that?
I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
I, of course, moved when I started a family. I moved up to Tampa, and I had 2 kids. You talk about having 2 kids and still having that passion to want to dance. And just to anyone that is out there, I love to speak to them when we get into goals, anyways. Just because you start a family, which was unexpected, you still have that passion. Don't ever let that passion die. So even as a mother and as a wife at that time, I still followed my dreams and tried out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneer cheerleaders. And I did that for 2 years as well.
You
And
know,
being a mom and working full time.
right. That truly is amazing. But when I listen to you with the passion that you have, and I believe "Plan the Life You Want" is your first book, right?
Correct.
I
First
I,
and only.
I hear a second book in you when I hear you talk about this passion for dance, and obviously being a heat dancer for 5 years and a cheerleader with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 2 years. There's definitely a book within that, and obviously not
Hmm.
that work that you did, being that athlete, because you are an athlete as a dancer,
Thank you.
um, and where you went from being 17, and obviously that journey didn't begin at 17. It began many, many, many years before you became that heat dancer. You had to prepare yourself many years, to because I know the audition process is not
Absolutely.
easy. I know that the practice season is not easy.
It's
Uh, it is a lot of hard work. So I would, if you had not thought about it, there definitely is a book there. So,
Thank you. You
uh,
just put something on the radar there. I can say this, and then once we get into the book, but there is a second book that I'm actually working on currently right now.
okay,
Once we get into the book, I'll explain to you what the second book is about. But I am now in the process of creating a devotional planner. So
okay,
plan the life you want. And now I'm coming up with a planner that people get to set their own goals.
right. So, what inspired you to begin to even think about writing? What was the day that you woke up and said, let me take this pen and put it on paper? Or did you start typing or did you start writing?
I share this. I hope you appreciate my transparency. I am very open. I do not like to even write. So let me even tell you how that started. So it's funny that you say, do you remember the date? And I remember a date, but it was a date that changed my life, Eric. So for those who may not know, I worked for a health system, a very known health system here in Miami. And due to the pandemic, and just like other Americans out there in 2020, I got laid off. And I'll never forget that date, June 2nd, 2020. When I got that phone call, I did not see it coming whatsoever. And so once something like that you get, lays down in your lap, you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Just like with any loss, and I share this in the book as well, just like with any loss, you go through all of your different emotions. You go through anger, you go through, and there's a point that you get over it and then you move on. But I'll be honest with you, I am so passionate, and that's always been me, is I'm very goal oriented. I always, anything that I want in life, I write it down. So it was just always me in my journal. So everything that I ever wanted to do, I wrote it down. And so I remember the December of 2019, I wanted to share some of my ideas with some of my closest friends. And so I hosted a vision board party. And so I had all of us sit down, had all of the women write down what their goals are, and we created vision boards. And on my vision board, I put down that I wanted to become an author. And it's always been a long-term dream of mine. I'll be honest with you, I did not know the time, the date, when I was going to start it. I just knew that one day I wanted to do that. And so once I got that phone call that I was laid off and we were already in quarantine, trapped in the house,
Right,
I looked around and I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I turned around and I saw my vision board and I was like, okay, what on this vision board can I start doing? And when I saw to become an author and write your first book, I just used that opportunity. I heard you say earlier, we have the time now. It's not that it's wasted time, but now when I was with my job and because I was a director, it was very demanding. And so my hours were long. But now that I had this free time, I wanted to be productive with my time. And so I just started writing. And I'll be honest with you, as you can see, I love to talk. I'm a motivational speaker. So I was like, okay, where do I even begin? And that's what I did. I just jumped on my computer, Eric, and just started. The way that I talk is the way that I actually wrote my book. And I wanted to keep my personality in that book. So I hope when people read it, they can reflect and hear me. But that's how it all started. I just started typing one day.
right. Wow. And it is reflected in your book because again, when we were talking about the whole thing of you dancing, like I said, I just heard a book in there. So the way you speak, as you said, it definitely it's inspirational and just listening to you talk because again, you exude this truth. Like you said, you're very transparent. So I know that you will be successful at what it is that you desire,
Thank you.
and those goals that you have, for yourself. So let's talk about planning a life that you want. You say it's a 7-step plan, and how did you make it? What made it a 7-step plan?
So if anybody knows me, and I'm pretty sure if they're in my close circle, they would understand and know that the number 7 is so significant to me and my family. It's both my husband and I's favorite number. We were even married on 7/7/17. I had 7 bridesmaids. He had 7 groomsmen. Got married at 7 o'clock. Everything around us is 7. It is, I don't like to use the word lucky number, but we are both, women and men of faith. And it's truly what we believe is a symbolic number that God is giving you guidance. And so it has truly worked for us. So everything I try to do, I try to come up with 7 steps. And so when I was writing this book, and I want to even back up a little bit, I am a motivational speaker. And so I was the keynote speaker at a graduation. And at that moment is when they asked me if I had to give them word of advice into their new life, what would it be? And so this book actually came out of that speech. I shared with them that night the 7 steps of how to achieve goals and anything that they wanted to do now that they were graduating from high school and going into, their adulthood. And so those 7 steps that just stayed with me, Eric. I use it both professionally and personally. And so I put a spin on it for the book because I gave them the 7 steps, but then I also gave them a testimony of my own life that led me to come up with those 7 steps. I also ended each chapter with a biblical scripture and positive affirmation.
Okay. Well, the one thing, you've heard the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Come on now. That's in my book, by the way.
And so, and that's really about setting goals.
Yes.
A lot of us, we have goals in life, those things that we desire, those things that we want for ourselves, those things that we want for our families. We talk about the business side of it. Obviously, businesses, you have to plan, you have to set goals. What do you say to those folks? And I know a big part of setting goals, as you said, is writing things down. And
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a lot of us who set goals, but we don't necessarily write them down. But we know the direction we want to go. So how do you look at that perspective, having goals and thinking them through, but the importance of writing them down?
Absolutely. I share writing them down is because let's think about this for a moment. A dream is just a dream when it's just in our head, Eric. But the moment that you write it down on paper, it becomes a plan. Okay. And then once we add steps to that plan, because plans are step by step instructions of how we're going to achieve those things that we, admire, it then becomes a reality. Just being in your head is going to be just a dream. And that's the hardest part that people in achieving goals, the hardest part that I share with people is the action steps. But
Right.
how can you do, meaning apply yourself, if you haven't come up with a plan? And so that's what I recommend by writing it down. The first thing that you need to know, and that was step number 1 in my book, is know what you want. We dream about it. Okay, yes, I'm going to just throw me out there for an example. Yes, I want to become a Miami Heat dancer. I have it in my head. Okay, but TK, what do you need to do to become a dancer? Did you take dance lessons? Are you a professional dancer? Are you fit? There's so much that goes into that. Do you have the personality? Do you have everything that they're looking for? So you have to prepare yourself, as you said earlier, for it. But I'm not saying that my way is the only way and the right way. I just have this saying, let's work smarter, not harder. Go ahead and think about what you want, put it down on paper, which becomes a goal, put steps to it, which becomes a plan. And then with those plans, there's action steps. When you are actually doing, that is applying and it becomes a reality. So that's why I share writing it down.
Right. So let me throw a wrench in here.
Uh-oh.
So a lot of times, we're motivated to do certain things. We may want, there may be a job that we want. There are whatever that particular goals, but for whatever reason, you don't reach that goal. You don't get that job. And even though you planned and you did all those steps that you considered that will help you get to that goal, but you don't reach that goal. What do you have to say to folks who go through climbing that hill, but then you get to that point where you think you're in at the door, but you don't get through the door?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll use myself as a testimony. I worked hard and it was a goal of mine to make a six-figure salary. I did that when I worked for this healthcare system. I finally, after almost 40 years, after having a bachelor's degree, master's degree, because what do they tell us, Eric? Oh, go to school, get a college education. Okay. I did all of that. So it's like, okay, TK, in order to make six figures, there are certain jobs you can't even apply for until you have the credentials. May have to have a degree in this or that. Eric, I went to school. I paved the way. I worked hard. I finally had a six-figure income. And did I see that unexpected thing of being let go? It devastated me. Like I waited that long to get to this point and to have the chair pulled up under me. Yes, it was a circumstance that we all didn't see the pandemic happening. But okay, TK, what are you going to do now? So there's a chapter in the book that's called "It's Okay to Change Courses."
Right.
Absolutely. Things are going to happen in our life, Eric, that we don't see coming. Some people may end up getting pregnant and starting a family. That changes things. Some people may go through a divorce. Now you're down to one income. It changes things. There are going to be things in life that happen that we don't see coming. And I tell people, which is step number 6, don't give up. You still keep your eyes on the prize and on the goal, but it's okay to change courses. Sometimes stop those goals and change and put new ones. That's the reason why I tell people all the time, that's the reason why there's new years. That's the reason why we have new months. Okay, new month, new start. New year, new start. Use those as opportunities to start something new. So yes, I worked in corporate America. But now, Eric, because that happened, I started my own company. I am my own brand now. I started TKO Consulting, that I can go out and speak, provide coaching services, speaking services. And now I'll share with you later some other things that I'm doing. And now I am an author and I want to continue to write. So sometimes when they snatch the chair from the table, create your own table.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is great, and I do look forward to hearing more about these other things, this other book that you're starting. Let's talk
Okay.
about that. So, what is this second book that you're working on?
Well, I thought, and I even want to come up with the reason why I chose the title, Plan the Life You Want. I truly believe that we as individuals, we create the life we want. The things that we go through, Eric, it was a choice that we had to make. Your mother, your father, your parents can't tell you what to be. It's what you want to be. We have choices. Now, are we going to go through life making good choices and bad choices? Absolutely. There's plenty of things that I failed at. Change course, pick another one. And that's just life. Things come at us. We have to keep it moving. But instead of using the word create the life you want, I chose to use the word plan the life you want. And that's because we all have dreams. We all have goals that we want to achieve. You are the person. You are the person telling your narrative. You are the person telling your story. Eric, everyone has a story. So let's go ahead and at least plan out what we want to do. I have 2 kids and I tell them all the time, my son went to college. My daughter just graduated from college. You guys are young. What do you want to be when you grow up? I even heard, on a video, Michelle Obama talked about that the other day with Dwayne Wade's daughter, that she hated that question. And it's so true. I wrote that in my book too. At such a young age, how do we know what we want? We don't, when we're not even finished being an adult. Life itself is going to teach you. Life itself is going to take you down certain roads. But at least I tell people, plan it. So at least let's work smarter, not harder. And that's why I chose to write the book, Plan the Life You Want. And I had so much feedback about how this book has truly helped them write down their goals and to take accountability, because that's the number one thing, Eric, is when it becomes to goal setting, you can write the goals down, but now you have to do the work.
Right.
So once you do the work, what is next? And so that's the second book that I'm working on. So I
Oh,
said, okay, if I'm telling them to plan the life they want, how can I help them? I'm a certified coach. I consider myself a success coach, meaning that I help people set their goals and then put them on a path to achieve them. And I said, you know what, let me put TK inside of a book. And so that's my second book that I'm working on, is to come up with a devotional planner, is allowing them to write down their own goals. I can't tell them, Eric, I can't tell you what your goals are. You know what they are. So I'm giving you space in a book to write down your goals, and you can hear me in the book giving you positive affirmation, some biblical scriptures to back it up, to help you and cheer you on, and then also creating a tracker so you can see the progress. So that's what I'm working on next.
oh, that's great. So I look forward to bringing you back when you've finished that book, and
Absolutely.
then you can tell me that you started that third book that we talked about.
You know what? I really am. You gave me something to think about, because I have
Uh,
lots of pictures I can share over the
ab-
years.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, s- speaking of, the fact that you went through what you went through during the pandemic, as you say, getting laid off. Um, Speak to those of us who have gone through that. But then the other side of the question I ask you, um, for those folks who had dreams and goals but did
Mhm.
not pursue, now this might be a different book.
You're giving
So,
me a lot to think about. That's the
so,
fourth chapter.
so now as we talked about, being young, being a kid, and people said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And now you're grown and you
Yeah.
have these desires, these goals, but for whatever things come in the way, you start a family, you get you have to move, um,
Hmm.
you get ill, or whatever is thrown in your path kind of moves you away from those goals. So now here you are 20 years later, 30 years later. What do you say to those folks who had these deep desires? Like, you were, say, for instance, you were a musician. You might have played the piano for 10 years when you were younger, but you gave it up because of whatever. So what do you say to those folks who had dreams, aspirations, set those aside, but now they're probably today, our
Hmm.
conversation may be kindling someone's um, goals and desires that they had, but they put them aside. What do you say to those folks?
My favorite words: trust the process. We have to, a lot of people, as soon as they want something, they want it now. They don't realize that I truly believe in timing. Things happen for a reason, Eric. Just because challenges and roadblocks or setbacks get in our way, we have to keep our eyes on the prize. Don't ever give up on those goals. If you're truly passionate about something, there may be a delay, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So we have to learn to sometimes be still and trust the process, and just deal with where we are now and make the best of where we are now. But when that opportunity does come, walk into it. I have this saying that I don't believe in the word luck. Yes, the word exists, but I tell people it's not about luck. Luck to me is a crossroad where preparation meets opportunity. We have to prepare ourselves for what we want. In the background, you should still be working on whatever it is that you did have as a goal. Still work at that and trust the process that you're going through, because one day someone is going to create an opportunity for you. And because you've prepared yourself for this moment, you could just walk right into it. So I truly say that if they are really passionate about it, don't give up unless it really truly is a life changing situation. And I'll go back to it's okay to change the course. Maybe that's a goal that you can't achieve anymore, and let's create some new ones. But if it's something that you know you can do, but right now you're just not in the position to do it, still put it on that vision board, still write it down and keep it in your journal. And while you're waiting, do those things to help you get closer and closer to it. That's what I'll share.
Right. So how can someone get your book?
It's on Amazon.
And it was
So
the number one bestseller, I heard.
it was, and I have to just give credit. That's not me. I'm the writer. I have to give credit to all of my friends and family for doing that for me. It does take a lot of hard work, especially I love to speak for those who are entrepreneurs and they work for themselves. You got to put in the work. I put in a lot of marketing work and making sure that I market myself and promoted the book for a period of time. But it was truly, truly my friends and my family. And I am just so grateful, just showing so much gratitude for the support and love that I received when my book went live on Amazon. And because of my friends and my family is why I became a number one bestseller on Amazon. So I was just so happy. The day that it went on sale, I think I was at number 560 out of all the books that are on Amazon, and it shot up to number one.
Oh, wow.
And that's due to all of my friends and family. So grateful.
That's amazing. So again, if you want to tell folks where to get the book, if they want to get in touch with you, do you have a website that? So let us
Absolutely.
know. Yeah, please let us know.
Absolutely. So you can find my book, Plan the Life You Want. It's on Amazon. You can either search by the title of the book, which is Plan the Life You Want, or you can search by my name under the author's name, TK Owens, and it will pop up. The good thing about Amazon is that you purchase right online and it's delivered right to your front doorstep. I also have my own website. It's TKO Consulting LLC.com. I started my own consulting company about 2 years ago. Once again, that's TKO Consulting LLC.com. I'm also on social media, Facebook under TK Owens, and on Instagram, TK Owens number 7.
Well, this has truly been an amazing conversation with you. So I just want to thank you, and I wish you all the best with the book. I wish you all the best with the second book, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth book
Thank you.
because I can just see all of that manifesting and happening for you. So just really look forward to it. So thank you once again for joining us. This has been Women in Words with Mrs. TK Owens. Plan the Life You Want is a 7-step plan to help you achieve your goals. So if you didn't learn anything today, you weren't paying attention.
That's right.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.